All right, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be focusing on one source,
Okay.
a single source. It is a YouTube video.
Right.
The title is How to Get Unstuck and Build with God, Prayer, Priorities, and Goals. And this is by Imani Inspires.
Oh, Imani
Yeah,
Inspires.
you familiar with her channel?
I've seen it, yeah. She's great. She helps, what is it? Christians move from complacency to, like, building a deeper relationship with Jesus
Yeah.
using practical biblical advice
Yeah.
and a lot of her personal experiences.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So in this deep dive, we're going to be trying to figure out, like, what can we learn from Imani about building a fruitful life with God?
Okay.
I have to admit, I was really intrigued by the concept of back-tack favor.
Backtack favor.
Yeah, have you heard of that before?
That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what she has to say about that.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me think of, like, you're sewing and you have to go back.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, what could that even mean, right?
Mm.
So, Imani starts the video with a pretty strong statement,
Mm.
saying that a lot of Christians are relying on, like, secondhand words.
Secondhand words. Okay.
Like from, pastors or podcasts or even social media, instead of seeking personal guidance from God.
Oh, wow.
So what do you think about that?
I mean, I think there's some truth to that, right? Like, it's easy to get caught up in these messages
Yeah.
that we're hearing from all these different sources,
Yeah.
without really stopping to consider, like, if they actually align with our own personal journey and, like, the guidance God has for us individually.
Right.
It's almost like we're outsourcing our spiritual direction
Yeah.
instead of going straight to the source.
Right. Yeah, it is easy to fall into that trap.
Mm-hmm.
So then she suggests that one of the keys to receiving that personal guidance
Mm-hmm.
is by establishing, like, a lifestyle of devoted prayer.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting because, she's not talking about just, like, saying a quick prayer before bed, right?
Right.
It's more about, like, weaving prayer into every part of your day. It's like praying while you're doing the dishes, while you're grocery shopping, in the car,
Yeah.
It's like having that constant open line of communication with God.
Yeah, I love that.
Always being in conversation.
Yeah, and she even uses some biblical examples to illustrate this, like Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, or Moses receiving instructions for the tabernacle.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those figures, they faced some pretty incredible obstacles, right?
Right.
But they consistently sought God's guidance, and then they took, like, bold action, decisive action.
Yeah.
Based on what they received.
Right, and I think that brings us back to this idea of back-tack favor.
Oh, okay. So how does she define that?
So she describes it as having favor that flows before, behind, and beside you.
Wow.
So what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that's tied to, like, what we're talking about with consistently seeking God's guidance through prayer?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think about how when you are aligned with, like, God's purpose for your life, there's this sense of, like, divine support,
Yeah.
and protection, like, surrounding you.
Yeah, and I love that, like, before, behind, and beside you.
It's all encompassing,
Yeah.
like a safety net almost.
Yeah, that's great.
As you step out in faith.
Okay, so we've got prayer as, like, a foundation for building this fruitful life, but then she also talks about the importance of wisdom and work ethic.
Okay, so how does she connect those two?
So she references Proverbs 24, where it describes wise people as builders who create enduring legacies.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this through, like, intelligence and insight.
So not just working hard, but also working smart, right?
Yes, exactly. There's a strategy to it.
Right. And then she also points out the consequences of neglecting wisdom, and allowing laziness to creep in.
Oh, she does.
Yeah. I love how she uses the imagery from Proverbs of a field overgrown with thorns, weeds, and with a broken down wall.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty intense. Yeah, it's a pretty stark contrast to the picture of, like, a fruitful, well-tended garden, It
Yeah.
really highlights the importance of, like, cultivating good habits and avoiding those pitfalls of procrastination.
Right. I know for me, I struggle with that, like putting things off.
Yeah, me too.
And then I just end up feeling overwhelmed and unproductive.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. It is. But what she's saying about wisdom and work ethic,
Mm.
it really makes me think about how I can be more intentional with my time and energy,
Right.
It's about being a good steward of the gifts and resources that God's given us.
I love that. Yeah, it's about aligning your actions with your values
Right.
and
Yeah.
making conscious choices that reflect your desire to build a fruitful life.
Okay, so prayer, wisdom, and work ethic, those are like key elements in this whole building process. But then she brings up another really crucial concept,
Yeah.
multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams of income.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm curious, like, what's her biblical basis for that?
So she uses a verse from Ecclesiastes 11:1.
Okay.
It says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days."
Ah, okay, so that speaks to diversifying, right?
Right, like diversifying your investments and your income streams,
Yeah.
especially, in a world that's increasingly uncertain.
Yeah, that's so relevant, especially like with how things are right now,
Like you see,
economically, it makes you realize like how important it is to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes, exactly.
Like you need multiple sources of support, not just financially, but in every area of life, really.
Absolutely. And what I've found really interesting is how she connected this principle of multiple streams of income to the entrepreneurial spirit
Oh, okay.
that she encourages throughout the whole video.
Right.
It's about not limiting yourself to like
Yeah.
a traditional 9 to 5 job,
Yeah.
but like exploring all the different avenues for creating value and
Yeah.
generating income.
I love that. It's like that sowing seeds metaphor,
Yeah.
You're not just putting all your seeds in one plot of land. You're spreading them out, giving them the best chance to flourish.
Yes. And those seeds don't even have to be financial, right?
Right, of course.
It could be investing in your skills, building relationships, pursuing creative endeavors, sharing your gifts with the world.
Absolutely.
It's about like diversifying your efforts
Mhm.
and trusting that God will multiply your efforts in ways that you might not even be able to imagine.
I love that perspective.
Yeah, it's not just about generating wealth.
Right.
It's about creating a life of abundance and impact.
Exactly. And using your God-given talents to make a difference in the world.
Now, she also talks about the importance of being industrious and efficient in our efforts to build.
Industrious and efficient. Okay.
She uses a fascinating example from 2 Kings 11:28,
2 Kings, all right.
the story of Joban.
Joban, okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
Right, not.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's not as widely known,
Yeah.
but it's a powerful example of industriousness and leadership.
Oh, okay. So what's the story? What made Joban stand out?
So he's not just described as like hardworking. He's specifically highlighted for his efficiency.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He was known for like getting things done effectively and making the most of his time and resources.
Oh, that's a good quality to have.
It is. And she actually breaks down the meaning of industrious, like doing, fashioning, accomplishing, committing, performing, becoming, appointing, advancing. It's like very dynamic and proactive.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about keeping busy,
Yeah.
right? It's about being focused and purposeful in your actions.
Yeah.
Having that drive to really make things happen.
Yeah, it's not just working hard, it's working smart.
Right.
And that's where the efficiency comes in.
Yes.
Like streamlining your efforts, maximizing your impact, getting the most out of your time and your resources.
So being intentional and strategic with every step you take.
Yeah, and she actually even prays for God to make her efficient.
Right.
She says, "Lord, make me efficient. I don't know how to be efficient. God, help me to be efficient. Give me your supernatural efficiency so that I can be a mighty man or a mighty woman of valor."
I think that's a really powerful prayer.
It is, and it speaks to that humility, right? Like
Yeah.
acknowledging that we can't achieve true efficiency on our own.
Right.
We need God's guidance and support
Yeah.
to help us hone those skills and really maximize our efforts.
It's like partnering with God,
Yeah.
to achieve our goals, to fulfill our purpose.
It's not about striving in our own strength.
Yeah, which I think is really encouraging because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to do everything on my own and then I just get so exhausted.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking we have to do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
But maybe it's more about surrendering to God's plan,
Yes.
and learning to rely on His strength and guidance
Yeah.
to make the most of the efforts that we do put in. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Prayer, wisdom, work ethic, multiple income streams, industriousness, efficiency.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It feels like building a fruitful life with God requires a very multifaceted approach.
It does, but it's also incredibly inspiring,
And
to see how all of these elements can work together.
Yeah, it feels like we're being empowered to co-create with God, to bring our unique gifts and talents to the table
Yeah.
and watch them flourish.
And I think that's a message that can really resonate with anyone,
Yeah.
who's seeking a more purposeful and fulfilling life.
I completely agree. It's about moving beyond just existing and stepping into your full potential.
It's about embracing your calling
Yes.
and stepping into that role as an active participant in shaping your future.
Now, she also provides some really practical steps for building with God.
Oh, does she?
I'm curious to delve into those,
Yeah.
but we'll have to save that for the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
All right. I'm excited. So are you ready to dive into those practical steps?
Yes, I am. I love how she doesn't just leave us with these big concepts. She actually gives us like actionable advice,
Yeah.
stuff we can actually implement.
Right. Makes it really practical.
Yeah.
So what's the first step?
So the first thing she emphasizes is the importance of seeking personalized scripture guidance.
Personalized. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just about like passively reading the Bible.
Right.
It's about like actively engaging with it,
Yeah.
asking God to speak to you directly, like through his word.
Okay. So it's more than just like reading the text, right? It's about seeking those verses that like resonate with your current situation and offer direction for, whatever you're going through, your specific path.
Yes, exactly. It's about finding that personal connection with the scriptures. Like those verses that like jump out at you and feel like they were written just for you.
I love that. Like a personal message from God.
Yeah, it reminds me of this time when I was feeling really lost about a decision I had to make.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like I was going in circles, overthinking everything.
Right.
And I just remember praying, God, I need your guidance. Please show me what to do.
Wow.
And then I opened my Bible randomly.
No
And my
kidding.
eyes just landed on this verse that was like so specific to my situation.
Right.
It was like a light bulb went off in my head. It gave me the clarity and the courage to make the decision.
That's a powerful example of how God can speak to us,
It really is.
through his word when we're really seeking his guidance.
Yeah. So personalized scripture guidance, check. What's next on Imani's list?
Okay, so next she talks about cultivating habits that reflect God's excellence.
Okay.
It's about aligning your actions and your choices with your spiritual values.
Okay, so this is where that ideal of industriousness comes into play.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, it's not just about working hard, but it's about working with like intention, purpose, a commitment to like quality.
Yeah, it's about striving for excellence in everything you do.
And she encourages us to look to like biblical figures for insights on building, like Nehemiah, Solomon, Moses, Joseph.
Oh, interesting. Those are some powerful examples.
Yeah, all these individuals, they faced like incredible challenges, but they demonstrated exceptional leadership, wisdom, and perseverance.
Yeah, they didn't give up easily.
They didn't. So it's like having like mentors from history,
Right.
showing us how to navigate those challenges, overcome obstacles to achieve like great things.
Soaking up their wisdom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love how she encourages her viewers to really study these figures in depth.
Yeah. Like how...
Like with Nehemiah, for example, we see him facing opposition, resource limitations,
Oh, wow.
threats to his safety as he led the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls.
So he had a lot on his plate.
He did, but he persevered through prayer, strategic planning, and decisive action.
So it's not just about like blindly following their footsteps, right? It's about learning from their experiences and applying those principles to our own lives.
Yeah, and their stories can be really inspiring because it shows how we can overcome even the most daunting obstacles.
When we have that clear vision,
Yes.
a strong faith, and a willingness to work hard.
Yeah. So now building with God, it's not just about like following in the footsteps of others.
Yeah.
It's also about discovering our own like unique path and purpose.
Right, because we each have our own unique contribution to make.
We do. And Imani offers some really helpful advice on how to do that.
Okay, like what?
She talks about prioritizing your top 3 goals for the season, making sure that they actually align with God's purpose for your life.
Oh, that's a good point, because it's not just about setting any goal, right? It's about identifying those that are in line with your overall calling and, that contribute to your spiritual growth
Yes.
and the advancement of God's kingdom.
It's about seeking that sweet spot where your passions and your gifts intersect with God's plan.
Finding that perfect alignment.
Yes, and I think that's a really crucial point because it's easy to get caught up in pursuing goals that might look good on paper.
Right. Or impress other people.
Yeah, but if they're not aligned with God's purpose, they'll ultimately leave you feeling empty and unfulfilled.
Yeah, it's like chasing after the wrong things.
And Imani emphasizes the importance of being really specific with your goals.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's not enough to just say, I want to be more successful or I want to have a better relationship with God. You need to define what those things actually look like.
So paint a clear picture.
Yeah, like what are the concrete steps that you can take to achieve those goals?
Break it down into manageable chunks.
Yes. And her final piece of advice in this section is to schedule those steps.
Schedule them. Like put it in your calendar.
Yeah, like don't just leave them as vague intentions. Put them on your calendar, make a commitment to take consistent action towards your goals.
Even if it's just a small step each day.
Even if it's just a small step each day. It's about creating like a roadmap for success, you know?
I love that analogy. Like you're plotting your course.
And having that structure and accountability can really help you stay focused and like make real progress.
I think what's so powerful about Imani's message is that it combines spiritual principles with like practical strategies. It's about seeking God's guidance and then taking those concrete actions based on that guidance.
It's about putting faith into action.
Exactly.
It's one thing to pray and ask God for direction. It's another thing to actually do something with it.
Right.
That's where the real growth and transformation happen.
Taking those steps of faith.
So we've covered personalized scripture guidance, cultivating habits of excellence, studying biblical figures, identifying and prioritizing goals, and then actually scheduling those goals.
That's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest, I know. And we've only scratched the surface of your insights.
Yeah, I feel like I need to go back and rewatch the video.
Me too. There's just like so much wisdom packed into that short video.
It's a goldmine of inspiration.
Speaking of wisdom, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what Imani says about building with God,
Okay.
like in a way that brings true fulfillment and lasting impact.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think,
As we've been unpacking like all this advice from Imani,
mm,
I keep thinking about the contrast that she draws between just like existing and actively building a life with God.
yeah, it's a powerful distinction.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in just like the daily grind
Right.
and lose sight of that, like bigger vision
Absolutely.
and fear and uncertainty and just
Yeah.
like being busy
Mhm.
that can hold us back from, pursuing our dreams and living a more purposeful life.
Mm-hmm.
But Imani, she reminds us that we have a choice. Like we can choose to be like passive bystanders or we can choose to be active builders.
And I think that resonates with a lot of people,
Yeah.
Because we've all experienced those seasons where we feel a little bit stuck.
Right.
Like we're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate about Imani's message is that it's so hopeful.
Mhm.
Like she reminds us that we have the power to shape our lives,
Yeah,
to create something meaningful, something lasting, even when we're faced with challenges.
absolutely. And it's not just about like building material things or achieving worldly success.
Right.
Like as we've been talking about building with God, it encompasses every aspect of our lives.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's about cultivating our relationship with Him, developing our character, investing in our communities,
Mm-hmm.
sharing our gifts with the world.
Yeah, it's about leaving a legacy,
Yes.
that extends beyond ourselves.
Mhm.
A legacy that reflects God's love, His grace, His goodness.
And I think that's where that concept of backtack favor,
Yeah.
it comes full circle. It's not just about receiving blessings. It's about like becoming a source of blessing for others.
That's beautifully said. It's
Yeah.
about letting our light shine
Yeah.
so brightly that it illuminates the path for those who come after us.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into Imani's message,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a final, like, thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
What kind of builder do you want to be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
What seeds are you being called to sow in this season?
Yes,
And what steps can you take today to begin cultivating those seeds?
exactly. Remember, it's not about waiting for the perfect moment or having all the answers.
Mhm.
It's about taking that first step, seeking guidance, and trusting that God will provide the resources and the support you need
Absolutely.
along the way.
He's got you.
You have the power to create something truly extraordinary.
You do. Until next time, happy building.